And I don't, it's not this is not a formal interview. I'm not looking for you to make statements. I just talk to me about what's going on so that we can share. This is that idea that we were talking about yesterday in ad staff. Mm-hmm. What are we doing that people need to know about? I mean, what are the cool things that you're doing in here during this time? Right. So anything you want to talk about is fine with me.
Okay.
So what are you doing? I mean, what were?
Did you already start recording?
Yeah.
Oh, turkey.
Well, I want it to be natural. I don't want you to. I don't want you to be focused on this.
You want me to talk? You want me to talk to me?
Yeah.
Don't. Not there.
Yeah. Talk to me because
sure.
That's more conversational anyway.
So we have several different PLCs going on, professional learning communities, and I can start again.
That's fine.
We have several professional learning communities that are intermittently working in between our book study for the mindset. So we'll have a chapter on the mindset that we're focusing on, perhaps one Friday, and then the next Friday we'll be following up with that information in our individual professional learning communities. We have a new Tech High professional learning community that's talking about college readiness assessments, and they are working on that. Our Freshman Academy is working a PLC. We also had some English teachers working on the I CAN statements with assessment literacy. And so the group that I'm working with is on student achievement and looking at data for potential interventions in regard specifically to reading. And it makes sense because of my background in reading apprenticeship and adolescent literacy and my understanding of SAM, which is our manager, our scholastic manager for the SRI, which is Scholastic Reading Inventory, test that all of our students take between 5th and 11th grade. They have a pre-test at the beginning of in the fall, couple week window in September, and then we do it again in May. And so what my group has been doing, there's about 30 of us, and we looked at SAM specifically to make sure everyone could log in, everyone still had access to it, so we worked out those little issues, and then took a look at the reporting features and what all the different reports were available to us. And then we honed in specifically on the intervention reports to look at students who are advanced readers, proficient readers, basic, and below basic. So each of the teachers brought their class list, and they looked through all of the data and picked out students that they thought they had intuition that they might be a struggling reader. And then they confirmed or refuted that by looking at the actual data. Many of them were extremely surprised one way or the other, that they thought a student might not be a very good reader at all based on their classroom performance, but then when they saw their reports that showed the trends where the student is a very high reader all along the way since 2009 when we first started taking it. So they were very surprised to see, oh, it's just an effort issue and it's not an ability issue. Now I can approach them in a different way using the mindset, STEMs, and those types of things that we've been learning in our book study. So that can cross-apply into that. We also then decided we were going to pick, each of us were going to pick one student that we felt we could help intervention-wise. And we became very strategic with that intervention and thinking about ways that we could help them through the 4 dimensions of reading apprenticeship instructional framework. So actually changing our instruction with them to assist them based on the data that we came across. And so they took a look at the social dimension, and then they got a little cheat sheet from me that reminded them of all the different strategies and techniques they could do in social dimension, the personal dimension, the cognitive dimension, and the where you start delving deeper into your individual content, which is the knowledge-based or vocabulary. A lot of people think of that as vocabulary. So in the knowledge building area, that's where it was much more content specific, where the other areas were strategies and getting to know the students personally, which really goes in with reading, the rigor relationship piece, and it's really focusing on the relationship piece because students often will work better for and with teachers that they have a relationship with and that they have a relationship with the other students in the classroom as well. So we took a look at that data. It was very eye-opening. I got several emails back from teachers saying thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to learn about this and then actually look at the data and then create a plan as to how we were going to intervene with these students. And then our next step is to take a look at the actual data software and create our own data sets within our own classrooms. A subject area, so if they have a particular prep, like creative writing, and then if they offer it maybe first, second, and third hour, then they can build out groups and then put those students in those individual groups. So that way they can run reports and look at data per hour, per prep, per all of their students in their classroom, and they can see how they're improving by looking at the beginning data and then the end data. So it's pretty powerful of being able to use this data to change and inform their instruction and then see the results at the end, which is student achievement, which is what we're wanting to do. And so it complements what we're doing with the mind book, the mindset book, because they're learning ways that students might feel that, I'm a 1700 Lexile level, which is the highest that our school records. I don't need to do this stuff, or I'm beyond these things. And so now we're looking at the psychology behind that with the mindset book and with our different stems that we can use to move students to a growth mindset instead of the fixed mindset. And then teachers, then it allows them to not have a fixed mindset where they don't think the student is working at their potential, and then they find data to either support or refute that. Then their mindset is potentially changing as well in how they're interacting and working with the students. So powerful stuff.
It sounds cool because I see that direct connection from what you're doing here to how it's affecting them in the classroom. But you talked about, and you said a lot, so I'm going to go back quite a ways, because a question sparked in my mind. You talked about PLCs and how that's working, and you mentioned that you have a group of 30 here. So I assume you at some point you probably break up into smaller groups to discuss things, or have you not been able to do that?
No, in fact, our next session that we're together, we'll do a dyad, like a think, pair, share. So we actually are emulating some of the techniques and strategies in the cognitive and social and personal area for the instructional framework. So in our PD, we're actually utilizing the reading apprenticeship structures and strategies for instruction.
You practice what you're...
We're practicing what we're preaching, basically.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, so the next time they meet, they'll have, you can probably see it up on the board there, but they'll have where they think, pair, share. They think about that student, and then they share with their partner what they've done intervention-wise in those 4 dimensions, and then they'll share out. And then that's the power in the group, is listening when we do the whip around, and then they'll share out what they've done and what was successful. And then that's when people are taking notes, and I'm taking notes, and then we share that as well. So it's a cross-section group right now, and we've got different subjects. We've got math, we've got language arts, we've got world language in here, auto mechanics, you name it. So there's a real cross-section in here.
And you've got a big group. So, because one of the things that made me wonder is then, have you been able to sort of eavesdrop on conversations, or even outside of this time, have you heard conversations that have stemmed from what's going on during this time?
Yeah, definitely. Amy Walt, I don't know if I'm going to use names or not, but especially a lot of the math folks have come to me and said that I took that student that I got from your PD the other day, and we just had a conversation and talked about things, and I was able to show him his report. I pulled it up, and so yeah, definitely. And that would have never occurred if we hadn't had, if they didn't have that information and reminded of how to get that information.
That's cool. Yeah, you've said more than enough. That's awesome.